It was supposed to be an accident, but secrets don't stay buried forever. Maximus had always carried himself with an air of quiet authority. As the captain of the school's football team, he was used to the spotlight. His teammates respected him, his coaches admired him, and his parents expected him to be the model of discipline and success. Maximus was the embodiment of what it meant to be a leader. Focused, determined, and committed to achieving greatness. Every morning, he was the first to arrive at practice, and he often stayed late, running extra drills when the rest of the team called it quits. He was a natural athlete, but he had worked tirelessly to refine his skills. Football wasn't just a sport for him. It was his passion, his escape, and his way of proving his worth to those who expected so much from him. But beyond his athletic prowess, it was his leadership that set him apart. The team trusted him, looked up to him, and followed his example without question. Yet, despite his polished exterior, there was an underlying pressure Maximus had never fully acknowledged. Beneath the sense of duty and the commitment to his team, a voice inside him was always wondering, what if he wasn't enough? What if his best efforts weren't going to be good enough to secure the championship? The upcoming championship game was everything. It was the culmination of a year's worth of blood, sweat, and tears. Every practice, every game had led them to this moment. The team had been training for months, working hard to secure another victory, to prove they were worthy of their place as state champions. The championship trophy, displayed proudly in the school's trophy case, had become the symbol of their dominance. It had sat there for years, untouched by anything but the occasional polish. It was a silent reminder of their success, but it was also a weight, one that Maximus felt pressing on his shoulders with each passing day. The trophy was more than just an object. It was the result of years of work, of sacrifice, of unrelenting determination. It was a testament to the team's legacy, a legacy Maximus was entrusted with carrying forward. And yet, that very legacy was about to be put at risk, though Maximus couldn't have known it yet. The day before the big game, Maximus had a rare moment of downtime. The rest of the team was busy with last-minute preparations, strategies, pep talks, and practice runs. But Maximus found himself alone, unwinding in the locker room. He picked up a football and threw it around idly, letting his mind wander. For a few minutes, it was just him, the ball, and the soft echoes of his teammates' voices in the distance. He had always been an athlete at heart, but something about the trophy caught his attention that day. The trophy gleamed under the fluorescent lights, standing tall in its glass case, a symbol of everything they had worked for. It was beautiful, perfect in its reflection of the team's success. And then, in a moment of carelessness, it all went wrong. Maximus tossed the ball a little too high, and in his distracted state, it ricocheted off the edge of the locker, flying toward the trophy case. Time seemed to slow as the ball collided with the glass, the sharp crack echoing through the quiet locker room. He watched in horror as the glass shattered. The trophy teetered for a second, and then fell, its precious metal breaking with a sickening thud. Maximus stood frozen, staring at the broken pieces of the trophy, the weight of his actions sinking in. The symbolism of the broken trophy was not lost on him. This wasn't just an accident. It was a mistake that could cost him everything: his place on the team, his reputation, his future. Maximus quickly scrambled to clean up the mess, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that he couldn't just leave the scene of the accident as it was. The trophy was too important, too significant for anyone to find it in such a state. The glass shards would be easy to clean up, but the broken trophy, the heart of the team's legacy, was another matter entirely. His mind raced. What would happen if his teammates found out? What would his coaches say? Would they blame him for the loss of the trophy? Would they think he didn't care about their shared success? In a panic, he decided to hide the broken pieces in a storage closet, hoping that no one would notice until after the game. He quickly rearranged the case to make it look undisturbed, closing it before anyone could come in and see the damage. He'd figure out a way to fix it later, after the game, when the team was busy celebrating their victory. Then, maybe, he could tell the truth. But as the days passed, the situation only grew worse. The team began to notice the trophy was missing. No one had seen it in the locker room. Rumors spread quickly. Some thought it was stolen. Others whispered about a possible prank. But Maximus kept quiet. He said nothing. Every time a teammate mentioned the missing trophy, his guilt gnawed at him, but he remained silent, fearing the consequences of coming clean. As the day of the championship game drew near, the pressure mounted. Maximus could feel the eyes of his teammates on him, their suspicion growing. The missing trophy had become a focal point, a symbol of something gone wrong. And all the while, Maximus felt the weight of his silence growing heavier. The truth was eating away at him, and yet he didn't know how to admit what he had done. He could feel his teammates' questions lingering in the air, the weight of their unspoken doubts. They had all worked so hard for this moment. How could he face them knowing he had sabotaged it all? It wasn't until the night before the game that Maximus could take no more. He sat alone in the locker room, staring at the empty trophy case. The weight of his shame became unbearable. He had hidden from the truth for so long, but now he could no longer escape it. It was then that his friend, James, entered the room. James was one of Maximus's closest teammates, a fellow captain who had always been there for him. James didn't say anything at first. He just sat down beside Maximus. But the silence between them was thick with unspoken understanding. Finally, James spoke. "Maximus," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "What happened to the trophy?" Maximus closed his eyes. He knew it was time. He could no longer lie to himself or his friends. "I broke it," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "It was an accident, but I didn't know what to do. I was afraid of what would happen if I told anyone." James didn't react with anger, as Maximus had feared. Instead, he simply nodded, his expression unreadable. "We all make mistakes," he said quietly. "But you need to tell the team, Max. They deserve to know the truth." Maximus knew he was right. The longer he hid, the worse it would get. He had to come clean, no matter the consequences. The next morning, hours before the championship game, Maximus stood before his team. His heart was racing, his palms sweaty, as he prepared to confess. The room was filled with nervous energy. Everyone was focused on the game, on the strategy, on the win. But Maximus knew this was the moment that would define everything. He stepped forward, his voice shaky but clear. "I need to tell you all something," he began, his eyes scanning the room full of expectant faces. "The trophy, it's gone because of me. I broke it. I didn't know what to do, so I hid it. I was afraid of losing everything. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner." There was a long silence as the team processed his words. Maximus could feel the weight of their gazes on him, some filled with disappointment, others with confusion. He had betrayed their trust, and now he had to live with the consequences. Finally, Coach Reynolds stood up. "Maximus," he said, his voice steady, "you've admitted to your mistake, and that takes courage. But what matters now is how you handle it. This team is built on trust. You've lost that, but you can earn it back. We're still in this together." Maximus nodded, his throat tight with emotion. He had made a mistake, but this was his chance to make things right. he could no longer hide. The championship game went on as planned, and though the team played their hardest, the shadow of the missing trophy lingered in the background. Maximus didn't expect the team to instantly forgive him, but he worked tirelessly to rebuild the trust he had shattered. Every practice, every drill, every moment was a chance for him to prove that he could be relied upon again. The road to redemption was long, but Maximus learned something invaluable in the process. He had spent so much time hiding from the truth, but honesty and taking responsibility for his actions were the only things that could rebuild what he had lost. It was a painful lesson, but it was one he would never forget. By the end of the season, the team had rallied behind him once again. They didn't forget what had happened, but they understood that mistakes could be overcome with integrity and hard work. As Maximus stood with his teammates after their final game of the season, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had made mistakes, but he had learned from them. And in the end, that was all that truly mattered. And as for the trophy, Maximus realized it was never about the physical object. It was about the legacy they had built together, and that was something no broken trophy could ever take away.